All right, let's talk about the situation with the H-1B visa. H-1B visas are the biggest scam ever to hit the American shores. Basically, what's happening here is that there's a majority of foreign companies and specifically countries, and in this case, one specific country, that has gotten the lion's share of IT jobs. What they've done is within the last probably about 20 years, and especially in the last 10 years, they've gotten a foothold in the IT industry to the point where uh, they've taken over everything within the United States. You could probably say that 90% of all IT workers are not working for an American company. That being said, you got to think about the implications of this. So when you go into your local town like I do, I find that majority of the stores, even the Krogers, have sections for that specific country, for that type of food that they make. They have different kinds of situations where everything is catered to this basically foreign worker group, which has been given free reign with H-1B visas to come to the United States and take over American jobs and American pay. So years ago, like let's say 20 years ago, if you were on the high track to making lots of money as an IT worker exponentially, what killed that was actually the outsourcing and now the insourcing. So what it's done is that, for example, let's say an average IT worker, like an American IT worker that should be making like let's say 250 bucks an hour, is making probably around 40 or 50 bucks an hour, maybe 60 bucks an hour now. The IT workers from other countries, and specifically the one country that has the monopoly, they make, depending on their situation, some of the junior levels, they pay them down all the way down to 22 to 35 bucks an hour, and some of their senior level, they pay about 50, 60 bucks. Now, they may have some connections, some of them in there that may make more. I've heard of people who make something like $400,000 a year doing IT work. So that $400,000 a year should really be in the hands of Americans. Same with the $250,000 a year, same with the $150,000 a year, same with the $100,000 a year. All that stuff should be going to American hands, but it's not. It's being literally drained out of the United States, outside of the country, and it's actually being put back into the economies of other countries, and in this case, one specific country. That being the case, what has America done to fix this situation? Well, the answer is absolutely nothing. The only person who's actually mentioned anything about making any changes regarding this to make it actually better for American workers is Donald Trump. Donald Trump has repeated multiple times that he wants to fix the situation with the H-1B visa. Now, ironically, his competitor, Hillary Clinton, wanted to raise that from 80,000 H-1B visas, who's already destroyed American IT, like high-paying IT jobs, like the kind of stuff that people like myself do. But they wanted to raise it to 800,000 H-1B visas. You got to think how insane like this is, and the types of people who support this kind of thing are the same people who are protesting in the streets and want free handouts. Well, if they didn't give all the jobs away, basically all the low-level and the high-level jobs to foreigners, they wouldn't be wanting handouts. They wouldn't need handouts. That's the whole point. So if you want to actually be an American, live the American dream, then you better get cracking on supporting Americans, American jobs, American manufacturing. And yes, it can come back to the United States, but it takes the right people to do it, number one. Number two, you do have to sacrifice a lot of cheap things that you've gotten used to, cheap Chinese goods, basically, and cheap Indian services. So if you can withstand that for a while and help America rebuild itself, then you're going to see a situation where the manufacturing gets so strong that, yeah, eventually the price will go back down again. But then, that's because we're making so much money and we're so wealthy that we can, it doesn't faze us how much money we pay for things. But currently, because our wages keep going down and other countries become richer, we're going to be suffering. And this whole globalist, Marxist, Islamist, leftist politics that's destroying this country, or has been, and especially in the last 8 years, is one of the biggest problems, because you have a situation where the family unit is, basically destroyed, being replaced by all sorts of leftist, insane crap. There's this whole war against, the white Christian patriarchies, or so-called patriarchy. The problem with this idea is that that's actually what built this country. It really is, regardless of what all these crazy historical revisionists say about this country. Those are the people who built this country. If you want to see it go back up again, you're probably going to have to understand that they're the ones that own this country. That they're the majority. That's who made this country. It's kind of like going to, let's say, Iran and saying, hey, you being Iranian and Shiite Muslim and a male is a bad thing. Well, who made that country? Was it, I don't know, was it Arabs? Was it Turks? Was it Chinese? Was it Native Americans? Who made Iran? Well, the answer would be Iranians were predominantly Shiite Muslim, and before that, they were Zoroastrians, or maybe Christians, depending on which area. So the idea here is you cannot strip a country of its nationalism, patriotism, majority race, majority religion, and expect it to survive. That no longer is a country. It's no longer a nation. It becomes a part, a vassal state of another nation or country once that happens. So all these leftists living in their little island, enclaves on the east and west coast, and certain other areas like little, what I call island cities of leftism. Well, they're filled with the H1B visa people, and well, of course they're not gonna like Americans having jobs and like having their own country and being able to have the right to bear arms and free speech and all this kind of stuff, because they're not from there. They don't care. Number one. Number two, the more they can push down the Americans, the more they can gain power and strip them, like a vampire, strip the country dry of everything it has, including its women, by the way. American girls, seeing how American men are becoming more poor, they're actually dating foreigners more because they're the ones with the money. In fact, in the United States, the number one group that has the highest amount of money is not the white men. It's actually the Asian men. Asian men in the United States are the most wealthiest men in the country. The only other people who make close to them are actually people from other countries. American men make as much as American women do. They make the same amount of money. There's no difference in pay. However, Asian men in the United States are making the highest amount of money because they have all the jobs. That's just how it is. So when it comes to this bullcrap coming from the left saying, equal pay gap and all this crap. Well, the equal pay gap, you should go to India and China and find out why they're not paying you enough. Because those are the people who are making the money, not the white people here, or the black people. White or black people in the United States are making nothing in comparison to the Asians who are taking over the United States. And that's a fact. It has nothing to do with racism. It has to do everything with nationalism, patriotism, and understanding that, people who are local to this country, who are real immigrants, who paid their dues, be it white, black, yellow, red, whatever color, they're the ones that actually own this country now. And they're the ones that live here permanently, not the kind of people who come here and kind of extract the money and, go back to Mexico or back to India or back to, Ukraine or whatever other country. Not those people. I'm talking about the people who live here. Once you come here and you assimilate, you take on the culture of America, you learn the English language, you live here, you make the money, and you help this, country, then regardless of your race or nationality, wherever you originally came from, now you're an American. So now you got to help us. I myself was an immigrant in 1974. I learned to assimilate. That's why I support the United States. I no longer consider myself a foreigner because I'm not. So let's ponder on that for a while, and I'll get back to you on the next video.